Hey, my name is Rowan Smith and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now, this is the world's very first podcast which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare and conquer your upcoming hike, trek or mountain adventure. So once a week, I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for. Let's get into today's episode. Alright, hello guys. So today I want to talk all about step-ups. Now, step-ups are an absolutely fantastic exercise for hikers. We all know them, we all love them, and all of us as hikers have done them at some stage or another. And there is absolutely no denying that they can be really, really amazing for hiking. They're pretty much the most specific exercise you can do, or one of the most specific exercises you can do, particularly for uphill hiking. They're an easy option for people who are training at home or training in a gym. They're really low risk, so it's very difficult for things to go wrong. And they can be a great inclusion into many hikers' training. And today I want to just sort of talk you through a few ideas on how you can get the most out of your step-ups in your training. So you're not just doing the same thing over and over and over, which, it can be good to a point. But if you sort of mix things up with your step ups, if you attack things from different angles, if you approach it in different ways, it really can go a long way to helping your training and really, really help you, particularly with that uphill hiking. So with this particular exercise, there's a few things that you probably want to consider in your training. Now, typically most hikers, what they do is they will find a box that they're relatively comfortable with. So it might be a box at the gym, it might be a step at home, it might be just something they have access to. And typically it's something that's a little bit less than knee height or whatever it might be. And, people will generally go up and down on it. And they might do, lots and lots of repetitions. They might use a dumbbell or a pack or something like that. And that's a really, really good starting point. For whatever you're naturally comfortable with, that's a good way to start things. However, if you want to get the most out of this, I highly recommend you sort of branch out from what you're exactly comfortable with. Because when we're hiking, obviously we're not just doing the same steps over and over and over. And there's definitely a lot of value to mixing up the actual box you're stepping on. So 2 ways you can obviously go on this. Number 1, you can go a little bit lower. So you can do something that's sort of halfway up your shin. And in this situation, you want to put more weight on, and you can really, really challenge yourself with one of these low boxes, and they can be great for developing very, very hiking specific maximal strength. So this one, you might have a box, about halfway up your shin. You might have a heavy pack. You might have a couple of heavier dumbbells. You might have a barbell on your back or whatever it might be. Load that up and then just do a few repetitions at a time. Anything from 5 up into 8 or even 10 if you're not so comfortable with the heavier strength training, and do a period of that. That can be super, super effective. And that's something that I've been doing in my own training quite a bit recently. In the other direction, instead of going lower and heavier, you can sort of go into a box which is a bit uncomfortable. And in a sense, it's a bit uncomfortably high. So you find something that is, out of your normal comfort zone, and you sort of go through that. Now, some people who might have dodgy knees or restricted mobility, this literally might only be an extra inch from your normal box height. And you might just put a plate or something like that, and it's literally just changing it that much. Or if you're, a little bit more flexible, you're a little bit more comfortable with this, you can do something that's a little bit higher. But every once in a while, throw in a higher box. Do 5 minutes of stepping at the end of a session on a higher box. Maybe just do a few weeks of training on a higher box. And it really, really does challenge the body in weird and wonderful ways. Now, for my own training, what I did the other week was, this is purely by accident, but it really, really knocked me around. Because as I said, I've been doing low box step-ups pretty consistently for the last few weeks, loading that up, developing that maximal strength, and really, really getting myself ready for my upcoming hike. Now, the other week, went to the gym. The box I've been using typically was already been used, so I went one that was a bit higher. And I was still using, moderately heavy weights. It wasn't super heavy, but it was significantly higher. And it really did give me a lot of challenge because the muscles were working differently, stability was working differently. I had to adjust the weight, but and it was a really, really good challenge for myself. And then at the end of the sessions recently, I've been doing different box heights for my sort of sessions. In my sort of 30, 40 minute sessions, I've been doing, weights training, a little bit of cardio, and then typically 5 minutes of stepping at the end of the session. And I've been mixing between that sort of medium box, a little bit higher, super high, and even a small box, and just mixing around there. And it has been a really, really good mix. So one thing you can do with your step ups, as we said, just mixing around the heights, and it really can go a long way. Now, other things you can do with your step ups, which can make a big difference, is you can sort of do your stepping at different angles. So instead of just doing the typical up and down, you can sort of do lateral step ups where you might be standing to the side of the box and just stepping up laterally. And it's just a very small difference, but it can make a pretty significant change to the body. You can do sort of crossover step ups, so where you're stepping up laterally, but you're stepping up onto the box, sideways as opposed to straight up, and then step down. And look it up on YouTube, a crossover step up. And you can do all types of weird and wonderful step ups with it. You can do a step lunge combo or whatever it might be, but just mix up different different angles of how you're approaching it. Mix up different ways you're holding your weights, whether you're holding a dumbbell or a barbell or a pack. All those little changes that do make a big difference. Now, another thing you can do is like doing with or without your boots. So typically if you're hiking in boots, they're always going to be a little bit heavier or a little bit different at least than your typical gym shoes or training shoes or whatever you might be. And so one really easy change is doing, you might be training with your shoes or with your normal shoes, and then do a few weeks while wearing your boots. Obviously, if you're in the gym, if you've got to switch out your boots and into that, it's going to be a little bit of pain in the bum, and you might not want to do that. But if you're just doing it at home, this can be a really, really good option. So with your step ups, really, it is a good idea to mix things up. Not just do the same thing over and over and over, because the body does get used to it. Challenge the weight, change the range of motion, change the angles, change the equipment you're using, and really it does go a long way to getting your body used to the unpredictable, the undulating, and really uneven nature of the trail. So if you have been doing lots of step ups in your prep, or you are considering doing lots of step ups in your prep, I highly recommend have a think about this, see how you can apply it, and it really will go a long way. Now, I hope you have enjoyed today's episode today, guys. If you do have any questions, if you have any ideas around these step ups or want some extra videos around how these actually look, I'd love for you to come and find me in the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. Now, inside that group, I'm always happy to explore things a little bit deeper, share exercise videos or whatever it may be, and really explore these subjects in a little bit more detail. So if you did want to come find it, it's the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. You can check that out on Facebook or find it in the show notes below. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.